Oh,
that
he admitted to that?
he admitted to that,
Dang.
and that we kind of, hey, he was talking about they had to have their ratings. The network, demanded they, have material, and the expense of traveling to the places and doing the stuff. And the guy goes, that we've been in cases where we couldn't find anything, but we had to make it interesting,
Yeah,
and that gives a bad name to all the people that really take it serious,
it
and
really does.
they
And that's unfortunate.
spend their whole spare time, or they do it all. That's all they do in life is going
Yeah,
and trying to help people with spirits and stuff like that.
exactly.
I know spirits. Another real quick story before we get out of here.
Yeah.
My daughter's boyfriend was killed next to my
Sorry.
house in the alley. And it was his
Whoa.
fault. I mean, he had a gun on him. I called the police. And he got shot. And, like about a couple days after he was deceased, I'd be in bed at night. And I was sleeping, but I would have him, it was like there at the side of the bed saying, "Hey, Gary, that's all right. I understand. I forgive you." And he kept saying,
Whoa.
"Everything is fine." And this went on a couple times. He was a Muckleshoot member of the Indian tribe. So
Oh.
they sent their medicine woman out, and she did a cleansing of our house. And as soon as it did the cleansing, uh, I never heard or seen him again. But I
Oh my
mean,
goodness.
it was so scary. I felt a presence, and I'd sit up in bed, and there he was, and he was talking to me. And,
But he was forgiving you. How could you be scared if he was forgiving you? I
but
mean, disconcerting, of course.
Well, number one, I felt guilty because I'm the one that called the
Uh,
police, and
oh,
they shot him. And
mm,
I saw the whole thing. It transpired, and it was a
uh-oh.
lot of pinned up in me emotion.
Yeah.
But to have a spirit right there at your bed, talking to you, it's scary. I mean, like I said, it was so bad. I called up the tribe, and they sent a medicine woman out,
That
and
was very kind of them, yes.
yeah, and yeah. Otherwise, I would have had to move out of that house because I couldn't live there any longer, and
Oof.
it was the scariest. Absolutely, I'll be honest with you, the scariest experience I've ever had. So,
Yeah,
and
I believe
I don't. It's worse than the shadow when I was my grandmother's house,
it.
or the other thing up in the Canadian Rockies. I
Yeah.
mean, I hate to say it when you
And that's
actually.
in your home. I mean, that's a lot different. You're supposed to be, your home is a place of safety and privacy. And when somebody disturbs that, yeah,
Yeah,
that's not
well, he
cool.
hung out around our house a lot. And like I said, he got shot right in the alley next to my house. I mean, like 10 feet away
Ugh.
from my house. And, and I know he was coming and telling me it's okay, but it's
Yeah.
scary when it happens. I mean, I
Yeah.
actually woke up the next morning and I go, well, it was a dream. Then it happened again. And then it happened a
No.
third time. And that's when I called the tribe up, and they immediately that day sent out their medicine woman because they don't have a medicine man. At that time, they had a
Uh-huh.
medicine woman.
Uh-huh.
And I explained what was going on. And she explained, yes, that is a spirit. Because it was this, it was this it's just the worst thing that ever happened to me. I mean, I'm
Mhm.
glad he came up to me and he forgave me for whatever I did wrong, which I don't think I did anything wrong in that
Yeah.
case. But it was something, honestly, I wish I never experienced. To
Mhm.
this day, I wish I never experienced it. I wouldn't wish
Mhm.
that on anybody. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, I'd rather walk through the cemetery with a recorder and have somebody say, "Give me a pack of cigarettes," than have somebody say, what he was saying. And and like I said, the first time it happened, I thought it was a dream. The second time, I started
Yeah.
realizing this isn't a dream. I was awake,
Uh,
and it was just I can say it's something I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. So, that's one of the reasons why I'm talking to you. I believe in the paranormal, and there is things out there. And
okay.
if you want to have a closed mind, well, then maybe will never see it, and you'll never encounter it. But if you go in with a neutral mind, that's when you're going to hear it. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, so
Yeah.
I
Well,
think,
going back to the people faking it, and if you don't get any evidence, you just fake it.
Yeah.
That's just about the worst thing you can do. The episode of Lights Out that I just released, I was with another ghost hunting team called Ghost Crier out of Quad Cities,
Uh-huh.
and they filmed it too for their show. So their show is going to drop in the next couple of days too. And I had talked this place up. I had talked to the homeowner. She told me all sorts of hair-raising stories about this place. And we went there, and absolutely nothing happened.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, and I promised my listeners that I was going to do a return to this place, because I did a show on what the homeowner was telling me. I said, all right, we get a chance to get in. We're going to make a show out of this. And I knew the Ghost Crier was also recording for their show. So
Uh-huh.
it'll be really interesting to see how they treat what didn't happen.
Well, the thing is, I hate to say it, there is some people out there that want to be, they want people to notice them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's people out there that will not tell the truth and they want attention. Then again, maybe that if there were spirits in their house and stuff, they were offended that people were in the house and they didn't communicate with anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I'm really going to be interested to see their, looking at it from their angle. And I made the show. It dropped yesterday, and I say, well, we went there and nothing happened. But if you've got a pond with muskie in it, and people have caught muskie in the pond before, and you go out there for a week's vacation, you fish all week, you don't catch any muskie, does that mean there aren't any muskie in the pond? Of course it doesn't.
Yeah.
All it means is you didn't catch any muskie that week.
Yeah. You didn't get any. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. There's been places where, that they actually have had, hauntings going on. And then when they were investigated, nothing would go on. And then they came back, at a later date. And then all of a sudden they found a lot of activity. So, I mean, hey, maybe the ghost was taking a cigarette break when you guys were there. And
that's the other thing. They're not performing monkeys.
No.
They're people just like us, and sometimes we don't feel very sociable, and sometimes they don't feel very sociable.
Well, that's, like, again, too, when you think about, like, they're on an endless loop and stuff like that, that's what a lot of people say and speculate. But then, again, in a situation like where they're talking to you, and, like, in your case, where the guy danced with you and is waiting for you, and the afterlife tells me that there's more than just an endless loop. They're actually being able to communicate. That means they're rationalizing and thinking.
Intelligent spirits.
Yes. That means there's still life out there, even though that they're dead.
Yes, and that's the glorious thing.
Yeah. So, wow. Better be nice to people, and just think they're dead doesn't mean, they're not, you're not done with them, they can come back and haunt you afterwards. I don't know. Hey, it's been really interesting. Oh, your little part on the ghost hunters?
Oh, yeah. Yes, because of having written Fractured Spirits, I was invited to play a part on Ghost Hunters. And it was interesting. It was very prestigious. I knew that. I did not take that lightly. So I told them all these wonderful historic things about the Peoria State Hospital, and they used just about none of it. They were kind of invested, and the owners of the building they investigated were also kind of invested in making it as spooky as possible.
Uh-huh.
And there was something that the owner's daughter had told me about a white lady in the building that we later figured out was probably Sophie Zeller and not threatening at all. But the owner's daughter felt that she was a very threatening presence. So I described that part of the ghost lore. And then I said, but it could also be blah, blah, blah. It could also be this very caring spirit. And they completely left off the part about the caring spirit. And all they did was, some people see her as a threatening entity.
Uh-huh.
That's all they used.
Yeah.
We watch it, of course, and we don't take cables, but my husband found it on the Sci-Fi Channel
Uh-huh.
and hooked it up so that the computer would play through the TV set. So we're watching it, and I'm sitting on the couch, bouncing up and down, whamming my fist against the couch arm, going, "That's not what I said. That's not what I." Okay, that is what I said, but it's not everything that I said.
Yeah, that's you're at least lucky they didn't sit there and cut and paste it, and
Right,
change it.
made me look even worse. But yeah, they're walking around the attic, and they're saying, "Oh, come on out! It's time for your shock treatment." And that's not the way to go about talking to spirits. And B, the building they were investigating was the nurses' dormitory.
Yeah.
That's as dumb as expecting to find the ghost of a basketball player in the science lab.
Yeah, I
Know
mean,
your
that's
history, know what you're looking for, and then you can communicate better because you'll have the facts of what went on in that building.
well, it sounds like they made two major mistakes. They were in the wrong building, right? And the second
Yeah,
is if you want to reach a spirit, right, you're not going to say, "Hey, let's go give you electric shock treatment time here."
yeah.
They're going to be gone faster than you count to three. But
Have a little respect. Oh yeah, I was also asked to be a consultant on Ghost Asylum. Where oh this is going to make me mad, but the producer of Ghost Asylum called me, wanted to know about Rhoda. I told them the exact story I just told you. I wrote a book on Rhoda Derry. I know what I'm talking about. So I told her the entire thing, and what did they do? Their shtick on Ghost Asylum is to build a ghost trap. What did they build for a ghost trap to try to trap Rhoda Derry? They built a Utica crib.
oh man, that'd be the
You don't
last.
think she's going to be 100 yards away from that thing?
Uh, I
She's
would. Yeah. No way.
she's not going to come within 100 yards. That thing going to trap Rhoda Derry's spirit in a Utica crib. Are you kidding me?
No, they should have some chewing tobacco.
Exactly.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
you were paying attention.
Yeah, I mean, wow. That's
I did not appear on that episode of Ghost Asylum. They decided they did not need me.
yeah. Well, maybe you were better off. No offense. I mean,
Yes.
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 I mean, that's. Oh wow, that is probably the funniest thing no offense, I've ever heard. I mean, you're gonna catch a spirit on something that somebody was tortured in for how many decades? 4 decades or 5 decades? In a basket. That's pure.
I actually did watch the episode, even though I wasn't on it. I watched it, and I always thought that the phrase "seeing red" was just a phrase. It's actually possible to see red when you're really, really angry.
Yeah, I would. Oh, wow. Hey, Sylvia, the 2 hours is just kind of like flew by. So why don't you tell everybody about your books, where they can get them again, tell them about your podcasts, and if you have any YouTube channels, go ahead and it's your next 4 minutes. Go ahead.
Fantastic. Well, I am the author of several books on paranormal nonfiction. There's Ghosts of the Illinois River. There is, of course, Fractured Spirits, Hauntings at the Peoria State Hospital. And one of my absolute favorites, 44 Years in Darkness, which is about Rhoda Derry, one of the patients at the Peoria State Hospital. I also have a book called Hunting Demons, which is about one investigator's experience with the demonic. And my latest book is Spirits of Christmas, over 120 true ghost stories of Christmas and December and winter. Who is that coming down the chimney? All of these books can be found on Amazon, or they can be ordered at your local library. Put in a plug for libraries there, or at your local bookstore. Do support your local bookstore. I also have a YouTube channel where you can see Lights Out. You can also access Lights Out through iHeartRadio and Spotify as a podcast. And that's me telling true ghost stories.
And what's your YouTube channel for people can, go in?
I think it's just called Sylvia Schultz.
Oh, wow. I'm gonna after we get off, I'm gonna have to go check it out myself.